Thank you, Singer. Thank you, Minister. Thank you very much indeed. Comrades and friends, these are our leaders who are here, who have come back. And I imagine, as they were, they led everyone, from the intelligentsia to the ordinary citizens of this country. They were with them at all material times and expressed their feelings in every way. So if we behave unusually, just bear with us. We might be saying something which some people may not understand. We might talk, we might sing, we might cry. Just bear with us. Lo mhla sibuyayo, lo mhla sibuya, lo mhla sibuyayo, gothula kuthi, lo mhla sibuya, lo mhla sibuya, lo mhla sibuyayo, gothula kuthi tu. Okal, okal, ogoduma embamba phezulu kwentaba. Okal, okal, ogoduma embamba phezulu kwentaba. Lumhla sibuya, lumhla sibuya, lumhla sibuya yo, gothula kuthi. Lumhla sibuya, lumhla sibuya, lumhla sibuya yo, gothula kuthi tu. Okal, okal, ogoduma embamba phezulu kwentaba. Okal, okal, ogoduma embamba phezulu kwentaba. Lumhla sibuyayo, lumhla sibuya, lumhla sibuyayo, gothula kuthi. Lumhla sibuya, lumhla sibuya, lumhla sibuyayo, gothula kuthi tu. Okal, okal, ogoduma embamba phezulu kwentaba. Okal, okal, ogoduma embamba phezulu kwentaba. Lumhla sibuya, lumhla sibuya, lumhla sibuyayo, gothula kuthi. Lumhla sibuya, lumhla sibuya, lumhla sibuyayo, gothula kuthi tu. Okal, okal, ogoduma embamba phezulu. Okal, okal, ogoduma embamba mbamba phezulu kwentaba. Ingoma yomkhonto wesizwe le ababeyihlabelela besemazweni. Amabombo bewabhekise ekhaya beholwa yilabaholi abala nabanye. Uma sisuka usinga ningasho ukuthi kwenze njani. Luyasisuka nje ngoba kufika abaholi. Thank you very much, Minister, Director of the program, members of the Kotane and Marx families, ministers, premiers, deputy ministers, MECs, executive mayors, the leadership and membership of the African National Congress, the leadership and membership of the South African Communist Party, the leadership and membership of COSATU, our veterans of our struggle who are with us here, who worked with these two stalwarts. Your Excellencies, the ambassadors who are here, particularly the ambassador of the Russian Federation and all other diplomatic corps, comrades and friends, fellow South Africans, receive my heartfelt greetings on this historic day in the history of our country. The last time I addressed the nation here at the Waterkloof Airforce Base was when we gathered here to send off our icon, former President Nelson Mandela, to Qunu, where he would be finally laid to rest. Today, we meet during another historic occasion, sad but also joyous, as we receive the immortal remains of two giants who played a very key and integral role in the liberation struggle of our country, and who indeed formed part of the generation that paved the way for Madiba and his generation to usher in democracy and social justice. These two giants indeed played a critical and fundamental role in our struggle. They shaped the political thinking of many cadres and leaders of our struggle in their lines, be in the ANC, be in the South African Communist Party, be in the trade union movement. They also shaped the thinking and policies, as well as the revolutionary direction of all these key alliance partners, the ANC, the SACP, and SACTU, before COSATU. And indeed, They were in the main responsible to produce some of the giant leaders we have today. Our very icon, Nelson Mandela, is a product of these two. They are the fathers of our revolution. It was during their time that almost everything changed in this country, in the progressiveness, if you want, in the revolutionariness, if you want, in everything and values of the struggle and the cadres and organizations. Comrade Moses Kotane, our leader, and John Beaver Marx, our leader, popularly known as JB Marx, have finally come back home. This is after 5 decades of their exile. On their way out, it was long and difficult. From South Africa to Botswana, via Zambia, Tanzania, to reach Moscow, which is so far away. Today, because South Africa is free, it was just over 10 hours, I imagine. They were here. After 5 decades. We've had a lot of discussions with the families in the past because it could not be done without their consent and agreement. And I don't forget the day we had a discussion with Mama Nokwe. Mama Kotane. When she finally said, yes, he must come back. And he must arrive when I'm still alive. Comrades and friends, we are receiving their remains from Moscow, Russia, which was for them like a home away from home, where they were cared for and treated warmly by the friendly people of the former Soviet Union and now the Russian Federation. As the minister indicated, when they departed, they were buried in one of the most prestigious and leading cemeteries, where all the heroes of the Soviet Union and Russia are buried. They were among the heroes. They were given that respect because the Russian people recognized their contribution to the struggle in all areas. We express our sincere gratitude to President Vladimir Putin and the government of the Russian Federation for caring for our stalwarts in life and in death. I'm told that the Russians asked that where their graves have been, they need their bust that were always there to remain there for history. As the highest recognition of these two as the foremost internationalists of this country, recognized in the world, and I'm sure We will do everything we can to recognize them as such, to recognize these heroes for the work they've done for us. And I'm sure we'll have time to talk about it. Their tombstones at that cemetery, which became their temporary home in Moscow, indicated the respect and the status that they were given and accorded in that country, and further cemented the strong historic ties between South Africa and Russia. The cooperation of the Russian Federation in our efforts to bring these two giants of our struggle back to their land of birth, and the remarkable and stately send-off yesterday when they left Russia will also forever be remembered by the South African people as a gesture of true friendship. Today, we have brought them back home to a free South Africa. South Africa is today a democratic country based on the rule of law and fundamental human rights, largely owing to the sacrifices made by Moses Kotane, J.P. Marx, and all other leaders, as well as activists of their generation. We live in our country as free men and women and children, without the color of our skin determining our station in life, determining where we may work, live, or even be buried. Comrades and friends, maybe it is worth mentioning one important fact, that when President Oliver Tambo, as Deputy President of the ANC then, was given instructions to leave the country, as he landed outside, he realized the size of the task he had to deal with to mobilize the world community to support our struggle, and felt he needed additional hands. He then asked the organization to give him Moses Kotane to come and help him. What had Tambo come across? He went into a number of countries to ask for support of our struggle. All the Western countries, with no exception, said no. And yet we had a struggle to fight. We had nothing. Absolutely nothing. Countries in Africa did not have all the necessary things we needed. Even those who could have heard it had to look over their shoulders for those countries that had denied the help. It was only when Oliver Tambo went to the Soviet Union then and other socialist countries where we got help to fight our struggle. I'm mentioning this because in that process, particularly, our leader, Moses Kotane, played a critical role to talk to the Soviet Union then and the other socialist countries. And now Russia, the then Soviet Union, supported us with everything. Military training of every description you can think of, academic education, produced doctors and everything, fed us, supported us to have something to eat. Even when we had difficulties in Africa, we did not know where to go because of the pressure from these countries who did not want to fight our struggle. They opened their doors to bring back all the cadres to stay in Russia. And all of these were done free of charge, no strings attached. They demonstrated the true friendship to the struggling people and oppressed people of South Africa. In fact, that we had the cutting edge of our struggle. We produced soldiers and everything. It was because of Russia, in the main. They were our true friends, not artificial friends. When we were sick, they treated us free of charge. When we died, they buried us in their land, as these two leaders have been sitting there, given respectful funerals, as if we're in our own country. Have we forgotten that? Maybe yes, because we now have new friends, wonderful friends with a lot of money. Maybe we've forgotten that. Because usually human beings' memories are too short. I wonder how we would have fought this struggle without the Soviet Union and the socialist countries that today you are ashamed to talk about. Do they remain our friends? No, some will say, because we are now doing business. Perhaps Russians are not going to give us business. We've forgotten. Some of us will never forget that Russians were there when we needed them most. And that's why when we asked, I had a discussion with President Vladimir Putin to introduce the request that we want our leaders home. And they did not hesitate, although they said these are international leaders. They could be everywhere in the world, but they understood. And they yesterday gave these two leaders one of the most respectful send-off with the Presidential Guard. Is there a country among those that could not support us who could have done so to our leaders, who could have given them this respect? I doubt. They wouldn't have done so because they don't value these. Maybe they value us now, I'm not sure. But I want to underline this because in our lives, perhaps me and many, this underlining is very important. Because at times we forget. And if I didn't say this when these two leaders are here, I wouldn't have an opportunity to say it again. We have many doctors who never paid a cent, who were trained by them, and generals. And scientists. Just 20 years. Says Kotane, little bits. Little bits, yeah, no. These are facts of history. You cannot erase them. Fact that they capacitated us to fight and defeat our enemy. Nobody else. Indeed, it is no exaggeration to say that these two stalwarts were great visionaries who were way ahead of their time in terms of understanding the true meaning of non-racialism, and that it would be one of the cornerstones of a democratic South Africa. Our leader, Moses Kotane, made the communists in this country, the communists, if you like, the Marxists, to stop thinking like Europeans, to think like Africans, to solve the African problem. Equally made the trade unionists to stop thinking like the trade unions in Europe, to think about trade unions in Africa, in South Africa. That's why he worked hard to produce the kind of unions that were different from old unions, that had, to a large extent, the political understanding, conscious about national oppression, but not overdose. Not overdose. Overdose is what? When unions think they're political parties when they are not. That's overdose. And perhaps because we are now receiving real revolutionaries, politicians, who knew politics, we can say these things. That if I do it today, I'm doing it in the name of who? I shouldn't therefore abuse their names. I must talk about something else. These were very clear. You are a communist, you are in Africa, you must think like an African. You are a trade unionist, you are in Africa, You can't just be a trade unionist, only understanding the factory floor issues. Go beyond that. Think about national oppression and therefore politics, but no overdose. We'll explain it one day when time allows. What do we mean? Because they helped us, taught us politics. Comrades and friends, in this year of the Freedom Charter and Unity in Action to advance economic freedom, we declare that we are proud of the legacy of Comrade Marx and Comrade Kotane, our leaders. They made a contribution to the emergence of the Freedom Charter itself and many other outstanding documents in this country. They fought for socialism. And they explained it. They were not shy, comrade communists. They were not shy to talk about the dictatorship of the proletariat. Because you are shy to do so. I've never heard a single one of you talking about it today. I'm not sure whether we are revising Marxism or what we are doing. And therefore, the struggle of the workers is no longer as sharp as it was. Ngicashe ngabo ngiyanitshela namhlanje. Ngicashe ngabo. I haven't hear you. Is there any one of you who talks about? I haven't heard you. Nisho mani nodwa. They said socialism now. Ninantini, socialism is the future, build it now. Not so? Yes. Nenze kahle nagqoka amajezi abomvu ngizonibona kahle. Today, we are shy to talk about class. Nikhuluma njengathi thina ama-nationalist. The gap between the poor and the rich. Niyayigqokisa, ningamakomanisi, my babo. You don't say the class gap has increased. Huh? The poor and the rich. What does it mean in Marxist terms? My babo. Comrades and friends, their homecoming is a beginning of a new chapter. It enables us to celebrate their contribution and to raise awareness amongst our people, especially the youth. of what these two great men did for this country.
We can't hear you guys. You're not on comms.
Comrades and compatriots, although Comrades Marx and Kotane were unflinching members and leaders of the African National Congress and the South African Communist Party, we must, as South Africans, across all political lines, celebrate their homecoming. It is a major milestone drawing us nearer to finding closure to our painful past as a nation. And I once again am making this point deliberately, because as leaders, I hope they are opening up a chapter that many of our comrades will come back. I don't think that some of us will rest before some of our comrades who lie in many countries come back. Because they are not there because they were just visiting. They had taken a decision to fight or die for this country. And therefore it is our duty to ensure that those poor families who don't have the means to fetch their loved ones, we should do everything we can to assist them, so that they can also close the chapter about their loved ones. That must be done by all of us, not by individuals. And I hope these leaders have now opened the way for us to think differently and to be innovative, to ensure that even if that process takes longer, but we'll begin a process to bring back our heroes and heroines. This homecoming should remind us that we have achieved a lot in just a few years, more especially the vision outlined in the Freedom Charter, that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, black and white, and that no government can justly claim authority unless it is based on the will of all the people. This service should thus sharpen our resolve to deal decisively with the legacy of apartheid and to fight against the demon of racism, which rears its ugly head from time to time in our society, and all other related intolerances. We must do everything within the bounds of possibility to deal decisively with anything and everything that would undermine the gains of freedom and democracy that came through so much pain and sacrifice. Compatriots, as I conclude, we should like to call on all South Africans to participate in the programs which will take place as part of the build-up towards the ultimate reburial of these two giants. We should lay these two icons of our struggle to their final resting places. Both these icons are from the Northwest Province, and they will be reburied in their provinces. The burial ceremony of Moses Kotane will take place on the 14th of March in Pella. A week after or thereafter, we'll attend the burial ceremony of J.B. Max on the 22nd of March in Ventersdorp. Bakwethu usuku olubalulekile lolu. Kubaluleke kakhulu impela ngoba lo usuku oluyingqayizivele emlandweni wezwe lethu nasemlandweni wenkululeko yabantu nezwe lethu iNingizimu Afrika. Abaholi bethu babuyile ekhaya emva kweminyaka eminingi bengcatshwe kude ezweni laseRussia lapho bebephethwe kahle khona nangenhlonipho uhulumeni nabantu baseRussia. Sithi kubaholi bethu namukelekile ekhaya, sinimukela ngezandla ezifudumeleyo. Siyajabula kakhulu ukuthi senizolala niphumule ekhaya eNingizimu Afrika. Ezweni enalilwela nadela konke selikhululekile. Comrades and compatriots and friends, let me thank the Max and Kotane families for sharing these stalwarts with the people of South Africa. We thank them for their resilience during trying times of persecution and separation from their loved ones. Mama Kotane, you are 103 years old this year. The same age as your organization, the ANC. You have waited long to see this day. We are glad that it has finally come and that you have witnessed the return of the remains of your loved one. We feel good together with you as your children. Fellow South Africans, the words of the late Dr. Yusuf Dadoo about J.B. Max applies to both of these icons of our struggle when he said, and I quote, "In the life of every nation, there arise men who leave an indelible and eternal stamp on the history of their peoples. Men who are both products and makers of history. And when they pass, they leave a vision of a new and better life and the tools with which to win and build it," unquote. We say welcome home to these two outstanding men who gave so much to this country. To leaders and members of the Tripartite Alliance, as we receive these leaders, remember these few things. Unity of our organizations. They stood for it. They lectured on it. They lived it. Discipline in the revolution. They lived it. They preached it. These two went further. When in the ANC and in the trade union movement, they talked about discipline, and they meant it. But when they were in the Communist Party, they talked about iron discipline of the party is qualified. Siyezwana bafowethu, riyawutlwana. Huh? Siyezwana. Hey. Umusu ubona umuntu ephathe phetiche eshaya umunye esitaladini. Is that still discipline? My babo. Wanda msebenzi mali yodwa ngekho. And they taught us revolution. Revolution is a broad term, meaning changing things radically. Now, I don't want to talk about people who talk about South Africa as if they know it when they don't. Let us remember the values of our organizations, of our society. And let us remember the principles that guide this movement and guide a revolution. I said their arrival must be opening a new page, not for others, for us. Because it is us who must change. They were never involved, these two, in any gossip of any nature, nor in cliques, nor in slates. These two were never involved. A comrade was a comrade. If we had forgotten, let us go back. So papatiswa kabusha. Because we would not have respected them if we remained where we are, in our behavior, in our understanding, in our leading the people of this country. At least there must be an inspiration to all of us. We have a task to lead this country, given to us by the people of this country, as an alliance. Unity, discipline, revolutionary morality, values, and principles of our struggles. That's what we must remember as we receive these two leaders. Yes. Welcome to a free and democratic South Africa, our leaders. Your sacrifices, dedication, commitment, and hard work were not in vain. Here we are as your followers, and will always follow your thoughts, your ideas, your leadership. Thank you for leading us and making us to be what we are today, all of us in the Alliance. And thank you very much, Kotane and Mark's family. Thank you very much indeed.